Welcome to Sunday Inspiration. I'm Vicki Haddock. And I wanted to create a place for you to connect to your soul and understand that you can transcend all perceived limits in your life. I've learned that the faster you get past what's holding you back, the stronger you become and the braver you are at taking the next leap. And then the higher you rise and create more freedom than you dreamed possible. Connect to your soul's inner longing, be guided by it, and let go of the weight that's holding you back, and ignite the fire in your soul. What Eiffel Tower-sized thing does your soul want you to do? When you become fearless, you become limitless. Now, prepare to be inspired as I share this week's life journey of one person that has inspired me. Normally been featuring part 3 of our series, How to Survive and Heal from Toxic Relationships. But given the situation around us in the world today, I decided to pause that series, and next Sunday you'll be able to see part 3 of that. But I wanted to bring you today instead some ways that you can be and show up in this world and be more mindful, more at peace, and disconnect a little bit from the energy of all the things happening on the world stage. We all know well enough what those things are, so we're not going to spend any time focused on that. But what we are going to spend some time focused on is learning how we can work with the physical aspects of our body as well as our mind in order to create a more peaceful, thriving, moment by moment existence. I've been doing some interviews with business owners this last week on how they are responding and reacting with their businesses right now. And one of the cool things that I heard repeatedly was, we're coming back to the present moment. We're really focusing on what's just happening right now. And it's cool because it gives us the time to really disconnect. There's a lot of uncertainty, but it allows us to connect into the certainness of this moment right now. So we're going to begin our lesson today with some insight on how our physical bodies respond and react to stress, and then what we can do from a physical perspective to help our body be more calm and more peaceful. So we're going to talk about the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is actually 2 nerves that run all the way from the top of our mental, from our head into our body, and that it connects into every organ that there is. The vagus nerve is responsible for sending hormones and signals out into our body when we're in that fight or flight mode, fight, flight, or freeze, which a lot of us can be in right now when we're stressed, when things are happening around us. We're wondering, what do we need to do? What should we be? How should we be protecting ourselves? That fight, flight, or sends chemicals into our body and causes our body to physically respond and react. Your body physically might be reacting by tightening up, tensing, feeling the physical response. You might get a tension headache. Your stomach might get upset. Those are some ways that our body physically responds to stress. Well, just as our vagus nerve can send stress signals to our body, it's also the quickest way that we can send positive, relaxing signals to our body. And the best way that we can do that is by using our breath, our deep breathing. Because it's physically impossible for our body to stay in a state of tension if we connect into our breath for long enough. And that looks like using some different breath techniques and consciously slowing our breathing down. So the first breath technique I'm going to teach you is one that actually works with the two hemispheres of our brain. It balances the left and right sides of our brain, and it sends those more relaxing signals out to our body. So I think you're going to notice, if you just kind of check in with your body right now before we start, and notice where might you be feeling tension this morning? Are you feeling tension in your shoulders? Is it in your head? Where is it at in your body? So as you check in, then what we're going to do, I'm going to ask you to bring your thumb and your forefinger up. I'm going to walk you through what we're going to do, and then we'll do it together. So to start with, you're going to take your right nostril. You're going to put your thumb against your nostril like this and hold it shut. And then with your left nostril, you're going to inhale for a count of 6. Then we're going to hold the breath for a count of 2. And then we're going to flip and hold the left nostril shut with the forefinger. We're going to breathe out for a count of 6. Hold for a count of 2. And then we're just going to reverse that whole breath pattern. We're going to breathe in for a count of 6. Pause for 2, then flip, and out for a count of 6. Pause for 2. Okay? So you're going to get the hang of this as we go along. We're going to do 4 or 5 cycles of this breath, and I'm going to help you on the first 2 and then let you go for a couple breaths on your own. So here we go. Going to hold that nostril closed and inhale for a count of 6. Pause for 2. Change nostrils and exhale for a count of 6. Pause for 2 and inhale for a count of 6. Pause for 2, switch, exhale for a count of 6. Pause for 2, switch, inhale for a count of 6. Pause for 2, exhale. And then I'm going to let you do 2 more breath cycles on your own. Okay, and one last one together for anyone who may have just been joining us. We're doing learning a breath cycle where we're going to close one nostril off and inhale for the count of 6. Pause for 2, switch to the other nostril, exhale for the count of 6. Pause for 2, inhale, pause, and then exhale. Okay, and I want you just to check in with your body right now and see, is it feeling calmer and less tension than it was to start with? I can tell because I carry a lot of tension in my shoulders, and I can actually really feel a reduced amount of tension in my shoulders right now just from that breathing pattern that we did. So we're going to do one more breath pattern. And this is where we're going to inhale for a count of 3 through our nose. And then we're going to pause and then exhale through our mouths. So here we go. Inhale through your nose. Pause. Exhale through your mouth. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. And then I'm going to give you just a little breathing pattern that you can use at any moment. This breathing pattern comes from my business coach, George Cow. He is helping us to all shape authentic life and business practices. And this is a mindfulness practice that you can use. It'd be great if you used it like once every 30 minutes, or once every hour, just as you go throughout your day. So I'm inhaling in the love that is all around me. I'm exhaling out total security as a reality of my soul. Inhaling in guidance that is all around me and available at any moment. Exhaling out gratefulness for the guidance I receive right now. Inhaling in strength to follow that guidance. And exhaling out, yes, I can follow that guidance. Inhaling in, yes, for the next task that's ahead. And out for the love and gratitude for that next task ahead of me. So there's a little mindfulness moment practice that you can begin now. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the mental aspect of mindfulness and peace. So living in the present moment, where we're at in this very moment right now, brings all of our focus and energy into the present. And in the present moment, there's no problems. There's no problems to solve. There's no action to be taken. It's only just being and existing right now. If you notice in this moment that your mind wanders to worries, regrets, unforgiveness, not wanting to accept things as they are, your mind might be wandering back to the past, to situations that aren't completely and fully resolved. And guess what? If you're allowing your mental real estate to focus on things of the past, then you're sending your energy backwards and you're not able to stay in this present moment, enjoying it and accepting it for as it is. And in the same tone, if your focus is all worried about what might happen in the future, fear of what ifs, or I'm going to wait until something happens, until I enjoy the moment, then our energy is all focused on the future. It's all focused on what's happening in the future, which is totally out of our control. So we have some options to be here now. We have to look at, is there a situation happening around us right now that we don't like? Then we can do 3 things. We can remove ourselves from the situation, we can change it, or we can accept it unconditionally for what it is. So let's look at those three just a little bit further. Option one is to remove yourself from the situation. Well, on the world stage, that's not possible for us right now. We have no control over what's unfolding on the world stage. So then we have to go to option number three, accept it unconditionally as it is in the moment. But what about other situations unfolding in your life? Maybe there is relationship conflict, there's conflict with a child, conflict in another way. So those are some opportunities where you can look at, do I physically need to remove myself from this situation at the moment? That might be physically removing yourself to another space in the house. It might be just disengaging from a conversation with a friend, a spouse, partner, whoever that might be. So that's just the option that you have, is to physically remove yourself, or in our virtual world at the moment, virtually remove yourself. If there's somebody who has been sending you unwanted messages, you have a toxic relationship that you're trying to disengage from, then blocking somebody virtually so they don't have access to you virtually is equivalent to removing yourself from the situation. Option number two is to change it. So what we can do right now is we can't change the people around us. We can't change the world situations around us. But what we can do is we can change how we're responding to it. So that is totally within our control. So you can take a look and say, is there something I need to change? Is there an action that I need to take right now? So if you look at any situation unfolding in your life, any time that we are taking action forward, it puts us in a more peaceful position if we know what that action is. If we know the action and we don't do it, then we're staying in a space of worry, doubt, or fear. So looking at, what are my options? Is there some action I can take in this situation? And then going ahead and taking that action. And then the third opportunity was to just accept things unconditionally as they are. So on a very large scale right now, we're accepting things. We're learning how to accept things unconditionally as they are. And we're being able to look at this as, what is my life situation and what is my life? Because our life situation is the accumulation of our past and future experiences. It's time. It exists in a time-based reality, and that's where all the problems exist. All the problems exist in our life situation. But our life is what's happening right now. Our life is what's real. Our life is me talking to you right now and you listening to what I'm saying right now. We have no problems right now while you're listening, while I'm talking. So anytime that we can take ourselves fully into the present moment, we become more mindful and more peaceful. I want you just for a moment to stop and listen to everything that's happening around you. Okay, I want you to tune in to the chair that you're sitting on, the couch that you're sitting on, and I want you to feel what it feels like to sit on that chair. Feel how it supports you. Feel how it energetically lifts you up and holds you. Feel the temperature of your space right now. Is it cool? Is it warm? Do you feel the sun shining in a window? What do you notice about the temperature of your space? And listen. What do you hear in your space? You may have been so focused in on my voice for the last few minutes that you disconnected from other sounds happening in your environment. So listen to what are the sounds happening in your environment. I can hear a clock ticking. I can hear some birds out on my patio chirping. I can hear some notification sounds popping in from somewhere. All of that is what's happening right around us. That is what's happening in this moment. So anytime that you're feeling a little bit of anxiety creeping in, bring yourself back to the present moment. Use some of those breathing techniques that we use to start with, and then begin to just really focus and be here now. And the third thing I wanted to talk to you about today is things that trigger us, that steal our peace. And in this time, we can be relatively peaceful and feel like we've got life really where we want it. And then things change, and all of a sudden, those new situations can bring up all sorts of emotions within us. It can trigger things deep within us that we didn't know existed still, or that we thought we had dealt with and gotten rid of. And it reminds us that there are still some things within us to be resolved. So I like to use the analogy of a tree growing and flourishing. And as that tree grows and flourishes outwardly, it also shoots its roots down into the ground. And the deeper those roots go into the ground, the more solid and stable that tree is when uncertainty happens. So if that tree has been exuding a lot of its energy outward and it has only one tiny root, when a storm comes along, it's likely to get blown over. But tough times, you think about a drought. If there's a drought and there's not much rain coming down out of the sky to water that tree from the surface, that tree is shooting its roots down deeper and deeper and deeper into the ground to find water and to find the life-sustaining force. And what happens is those roots then strengthen that tree so that maybe a year or two later, the waters and the rains are coming down again, but now a giant windstorm comes along, and those roots help that tree to hold firm and to hold steady because of the drought that happened previously. So if you look at the situations in your life that feel like they trigger you as those opportunities to dig your roots down deeper, it's never about the situation or thing that feels like it triggers the emotion. Although what we do is we spend a lot of time blaming and pointing fingers at the things that trigger our emotions. So we might say, if it wasn't for that person saying this to me or treating me this way, that's the problem. That problem is what's triggering me. Or the world situation right now, that's the problem right now that's triggering me and causing me to feel insecure. Well, that might be the trigger, but that's only touching your insecurity. And so let me take that a step further, because we might have 10 people in the room. We're only limited to have 10 people in the room right now, right? Or in many places now, not even 10 people in the room. But each person is going to respond differently And it's going to bring up different fears, different worries, different anxieties for each person based on what they have going on in their own personal life. So if you're joining me, you're here on Facebook. I see I've got some folks out there. Hello, thank you for being here on this live broadcast. And if you have questions or comments, go ahead and feel free to put them into the comment section. And when I wrap up here, I'll take a moment to look and check if there's any comments or questions that you would like me to address. And right now we're talking about triggers, those things that make us have an emotional response and know that something inside of us is happening. And quite often we blame the trigger, but instead, if we can look at that, like I was saying, if you have 10 people in the room, each people are going to respond differently to that same event or the same words spoken by someone else. So it really comes down to what that trigger is doing is it's touching the sore spots inside of our soul. Have you ever experienced a situation where you felt like you were doing great, you were on it, and then somebody said something that all of a sudden, almost suddenly, instantly brought tears to your eyes or made you feel like you wanted to cry? Well, that is an example of a finger touching a wound down inside your soul. And it's an opportunity for you to look and say, tears are the window to our soul to see what still needs tended to and healed by us. And our response to the triggers around us are indicators of those wounds as well. So the trigger is just the match that sparks the flame. But the fuel for that flame is what's already been happening inside of you. And what we can see is there's a lesson in every trigger. There's a lesson for us to be learned. And that lesson, if we're willing to learn it, is a gift. It'll free us up to experience life in a much more meaningful, beautiful way. So if you can notice that emotion come up and be willing to sit with it and experience the emotion. If you're having a strong emotional reaction, the best thing that you can do is hands on your heart and then use some of those deep breathing strategies that we talked about at the beginning of our lesson today. Emotions sometimes feel like sometimes we're tempted not to allow ourselves to feel those emotions because we feel like they're going to just swallow us up and we're never going to come out of them. But I promise you that you will come out the other side. And if you just allow yourself to sit in a space of breathing and feeling into that emotion, feeling into the fear that comes up, feeling into whatever emotion it is that you're experiencing, and just breathing and doing that for as long as you need to, as long as you can stay present with that emotion. And eventually it's going to go like this. It might build and build, and then you might have some tears to help you release that emotion. You might have a lot of tears to help you release that. And then the emotion is going to begin to dissipate and dissipate and dissipate. And then after a while, you're going to be left with a more calmer feeling of peace and mindfulness. And then when you're able to do that, you see that that emotion that has maybe controlled you for so long doesn't need to control you. It's just an experience that needs to be felt and experienced. It's an unprocessed emotion that's been stored somewhere in your body that needs released, let out, and moved along. Okay, so that's a little bit about triggers. So as we just go back and review the three things that we talked about today, the first one is breathing and how we can work with our nervous system by slowing our breath. using intentional breath patterns to calm our nervous system. That's number one. Number two is using our mental capacity to always stay focused in the present moment. And just for today, celebrate your life. Celebrate whatever's happening in front of you. That brings you to the present moment. And then number three, looking at how situations around us in life are triggering us and using those triggers to help us release the emotion and move through it and be more peaceful and mindful in our world today. So if you popped in somewhere in the middle of this lesson, it's going to stay on Facebook. It will be posted later on YouTube as a YouTube video on my Transcending Limits page. And share it with someone that you know might need to hear this information right now. So thank you for being here for Sunday Inspiration. I'm life and business coach Vicki Haddock, and I'm here to help you connect to your inner guidance system, to help you heal the hurts that hold you back, and then to help you build your Eiffel Tower size dreams in life while strengthening your foundation to make that tower as big and real as you want, connecting to your authentic purpose. Thank you for being here today and have a beautiful rest of your Sunday.